On this week's episode, if you're someone that has felt as of late like you've been wandering in a maze of detours and dead ends in your life, then this episode is going to help you, and we're going to do so by asking one simple question that can transform it all. Here on the Joshua Mentality. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Joshua Mentality. I am your gracious host, Joshua, and welcome back to another week here on this episode. So good to see you all, or can't see you. I don't know why I say that every week. So good to have you all. How about that? That sounds better. So good to have you all here for another week. We are at week number 24, and for some reason, that really gasses me up. I can't even really explain why, but maybe it's a combination of things. Maybe it's the adrenaline of knowing I got 24 weeks left to finish some projects I'm working on. One project in particular being this book that I'm working on. You all stay tuned. I am working on a piece of literature that I think will really help. I like to look at this book project as kind of it's like a culmination of my life going through the 4 zones that we talk about: the dreams, discovery, development, decisions. Dream, discovery, development, decisions. Like those 4 zones, you've heard me speak about a lot, quite a bit. And I feel like this book is going to be one of the, I hope at least, I feel like it's going to be one of the highest value adds to the lives of youth and young professionals that you've probably had in some time. So be on the lookout for that. I want to set that bar high because then I gotta hit it, right? So now that I've told you about that again, I have to make sure that's done by the end of the year. So keep that in your thoughts. It's something that I'm working on, and I'm excited about it. I'm excited about that. And let me take a second first before I get into some more updates. I just jumped right into updates. But if you are a first-time listener, this podcast is strictly about life purpose and you living out the success that is your destiny. And so every week we come together in kind of conversation format and just talk about some topics within the context of the mentality of success. It's something that's really important to me. It's one of the 4 core mentalities. And that's what I've dedicated this entire season to be about. And who knows, we might continue this moving forward. I'm getting a lot of good feedback. So welcome if you're a first-time listener. Good to have you. Some other updates that I think would be beneficial for you to know. I already kind of mentioned some new stuff going on within my IG. If you don't follow on any of the social media platforms, make sure you do that. Go follow at The Joshua Mentality. You will notice there's kind of a lot of different changes that have been made. That's on purpose. I've really upgraded some of the content focal points and just an overall effort into social media. Those of you who have followed me for a while, you know I used to have a love-hate relationship with social media until I kind of had a come to Jesus moment and really realized I need to invest more time into that subject and really pull back on some other areas in life. So I'm doing that, and I got to tell y'all, some of the content I'm working on here moving forward, let me just say it this way. I believe if you've enjoyed or you've benefited or you found value in the content thus far, let me tell you, the best is yet to come, because I believe some of my best stuff, best content is ahead of me. I'm excited about that, because if I'm giving out really good content, I believe that's really going to add value to your lives. And that's the only reason I do this. That's the only reason I do this. This podcast, in case you did not know it, is not a paid podcast yet. That is a plan in the future, but at that point, it would mean I've gotten to a place where I can really scale that value and add even more value to your life. So that is the goal. Just want to give you a quick rundown on what's going on in my world. I hope everything is well or moving in that direction in yours. All right. So let's hop into this week's topic, because this is actually one of the topics I'm using for one of the social media content storms that I've been putting together. This is one that came up in that brainstorm. And so I thought, man, I have to bring that to the podcast. And so let's talk about wandering in a maze of detours and dead ends. And for many of you, just reading that title might describe either your life right now entirely, or certain areas of your life that you've just experienced some detours and some dead ends. So let me first explain what this kind of means, because that topic may be a little too philosophical for some people. So I'll break it down this way. When I talk about wandering in a maze of detours and dead ends, this refers to those moments where in your life, every direction you take feels like a detour away from where you want to be. That frustrating, every decision just seems like it gets you further and further away, when at the time of making that decision, you thought you would get closer. And the thought that came to mind when I was thinking about this title and this concept is, I don't know if any of you have ever been to the fair, like those state fairs. I'm talking about the cheap ones, right? Because that's where you get some of the most creative, let me put it that way, creative experiences. And if you all have ever been to one of those fairgrounds, there was this one particular, it wasn't a ride, I guess I'll call it an experience. And it was kind of this room, or I don't even know I call it a maze of mirrors. Y'all remember that? Hopefully you do, because if you ever step foot into one of those, then you know exactly what I'm talking about when we talk about this concept. Because in that maze of mirrors, what happens? You feel like you're on the right track, and then boom, you run face first into another mirror, and it sucks. And that's what this topic is referring to. That maze of mirrors that oftentimes our life can feel like. And I want to know, have you ever experienced this? Because if the answer is yes, then I think this may be a valuable episode for you. If you are experiencing this in any area of your life, whether it be your growth plan, or whether it be your career plan, or whether it be your relationships, whether it be your faith, I don't care. This will apply across all areas, all right? All areas this will apply. And here's how I will kind of segue to solution, because I'm going to spend a lot of time. We're only going to probably get into one question on this episode, but I think that's about all we can really analyze, all right? So here's what I want you to remember. When it comes to that maze, of detours and dead ends, here's what I want you to remember. Discipline is the key to discretion, which gives us a sense of direction. I'm going to say that again. Discipline is the key to discretion. Discretion is important because discretion gives us a lot of clarity to know, okay, I don't want to go that way because I'm going to run face first into fail. And actually, it's not even failure, because failure is not a bad thing, but I'm going to run face first in the wrong direction. That's going to be a detour that's going to pull me away from the goal. So discipline is the key to developing discretion, and that will give us a greater sense of direction. Now, in order to talk about discipline, here's what I want you to think about. I want you to measure how disciplined your life is by answering this question. And the question is, which highly enjoyable short-term pleasures are keeping you from accomplishing a highly valuable long-term goal? I might have lost some of you, so I'm going to say it again. Which highly enjoyable short-term pleasures are keeping you from accomplishing a highly valuable long-term goal or impact that you want to make? What is it? Because I can guarantee you, if you can pinpoint what that is, you can then pinpoint what is keeping you from getting to the next level of discipline in your life. And there's plenty of examples, plenty of examples of short-term pleasures that keep us away from long-term goals or impact. It could be freaking TikTok. That's one of the ones that it's created to lock you in. I don't know how many times, the few times I do get on TikTok, I can remember how easy it is to go from video to video to video, and I like to laugh. So TikTok knows me. So it'll send me like back-to-back funny pranks of a husband or a wife putting a fake snake in the bathroom, and then, the husband screams like a little girl. Like, that gets me every time. And before I know it, 2 hours have passed by, 3 hours have passed by, a valuable work time. Same thing with watching YouTube. That's another short-term pleasure that can prevent us from, or keep us from, accomplishing a highly valuable long-term goal. Things like leisure, like going to play ball. I love to go play basketball. I'm talking about the ones for me right now, but I want you to think about the ones for you. It could be tons of things. It could be sleeping. There have been times in my life where I felt like I was getting 10 hours of sleep per day, and I still was tired. Still was tired because why? That's a pleasurable, short-term kind of a goal, or highly enjoyable short-term pleasure is what I'm calling these. But you fill in the blank. It could be food. It could be someone, a person that you spend time just chomping it up with, chatting with, but it's not adding anything. It's not getting you closer to your the value that you're looking to impact. It can be whatever, but I want you to think about which highly enjoyable short-term pleasures are keeping you from accomplishing a highly valuable long-term goal. And I'm going to switch gears here for a second, because a lot of what this is around the Joshua mentality. But those of you who've been listening long enough, I also own another business, and this is more in the business to business sector. And it's called Lee Malvo Strategy and Solutions. Now, this business is my organizational psychology practice. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because my background, my studies are in industrial and organizational psychology. That's just a fancy word, especially the first half. It speaks to my professional skill of studying markets, specifically around people and workforce markets and work environment markets. That's important to bring up because I need you all to really be aware of what's taking place right now in the workforce market. I was just talking about this with a few friends, and I found it to be very fascinating. Many, economic scholars and industrial scholars are calling this the Great Resignation. That's what this time period we're living in right now as far as workforce is concerned. It's being called the Great Resignation. Why? Because during COVID, when everybody was at home and totally out of their day-to-day working routine and element, there was a very large group of employees who realized, man, this is very different. The balance in my life, the health in my life, the mental health, the physical health. I have more time to focus on things that are more valuable. And what began to happen is the values of the workforce market begin to change. And now we're seeing companies they're practically begging people to come to work. And yes, some of that has to do with the COVID relief stuff. But even beyond that, workers who have a job and never lost their job are now saying, hey, if you don't kind of transform the work environment to something more hybrid where we can work more from home, focus more with our families, and still provide high value work, if you're not going to do that, we're leaving. And in droves, employees are leaving good businesses that have had a good reputation. And so why am I telling you all of this? I'm telling you all of this is because as an industrial and organizational psychologist, I can sense by research and just my own professional expertise when a market is being ripe for those professionals who have spent time, the off time, the downtime, preparing themselves, growing themselves, and getting ready for a new or a shift in the industry. We've seen this all throughout time, like the .com industry, when e-commerce came into a big thing. And I believe, and this is way off the beaten path of our normal podcast, but I'm throwing some of the professional life in here. I believe we are about to come into a new, let me see, how can I put this, industry or revolution within all industries, I should say. And only those, get this now, only those who have been able to deny those short-term pleasures and keep focusing on being disciplined and accomplishing a highly valuable long-term goal, only those people will benefit. Only those who've been focused, who have been revisiting some of those core values, doing some of the tough work around what really matters, what do they really want, what are their gift strengths, talents. If you think about it, everything we've been talking about with the mentality of success, if someone during COVID and and even through the next few months were to go through that dreams, discovery, development, decisions in their life, they would be totally positioned to capitalize on what's taking place in the workforce, just the workforce market alone. I want listeners who listen to this podcast to understand that this goes far beyond just to feel good, want to have a happy life. I'm not into a happy life. I want you to have a purposeful life. And a purposeful life oftentimes requires some of the hard things. So that when opportunity comes, like what we're seeing right now in the industry, where those who have been working on their crafts and their skill will probably be able to enhance and experience more freelance work, more free time, and more fulfillment in their work. Those people are ripe and ready. And I want all of us to experience this. And maybe you're not looking to leave your organization, or maybe none of this appeals to you. But even if it doesn't, these principles can be applied to every area of your life. Because what I do know is this. I do know if you are a walking, breathing human being, there is an opposition that is systematically, and when I say systematically, I mean it is ingrained into your just humanity, who you are. There's always the proponent, what wants to push you towards your destiny, and there's always the resistance, or the one that wants to kill your destiny. And that can come in many shapes, forms, sizes, you name it. So don't be fooled. Some of those short-term pleasures, or enjoyable short-term pleasures, if you look at them at their face value, if you look at them alone, isolated, they're not bad. They're really not. There's nothing wrong with going to play ball. There's nothing wrong with getting on TikTok. There's nothing wrong with watching YouTube videos. But if it's robbing you from accomplishing a long-term, valuable goal, you may miss out. You may miss out on a harvest, on a return that is waiting. There's a return waiting on your life. I need you to understand that. When I'm talking about ROI, a return on the investment of your life, is waiting. But there are distractions that will try to keep you away from encountering and activating that. And I don't want you to miss it. So again, that question is, which highly enjoyable short-term pleasures are keeping you from accomplishing a highly valuable long-term goal or impact? I said gold just then, like G-O-L-D. I meant goal, G-O-A-L, but they both apply. They both are applicable. I've tried to think about that, how to pronounce that word for a second. They both are appropriate for this conversation, the gold and the goal, because they're one and the same. And if you really think about this question, what's your answer? What is it? Because I know you know. We all know what it is. For me, it was my systems. Time management, sleeping too much, or priority management. Not, waking up and just kind of letting the day come to me instead of going after it. That was just my some of the realizations I had, because it's more enjoyable to kind of just go with the flow. That's just how I am. I'm a country boy from Southwest Florida. I'm not in a rush, but I had to work on that and balance and make room for those times where I'm not in a rush. I just want to relax, do nothing. But also know those mornings I need to get up and get it, because there's purpose at stake, because there's gold at stake. There's goals at stake. There's legacy at stake. There's impact that's at stake. If I don't show up, I may not come to this podcast episode and give you a nugget that can change the paradigm in your minds or the mentality that you've once carried. And there's somebody who can be leveraged or benefit from your purpose and the goals, that the highly valuable goals that you're looking to accomplish in your life. I hope this resonates. I hope you're getting my drift today. Because if you capture this, if you do the hard work and you answer that question, and I don't mean just think about it on your ride, I mean actually jot that down somewhere in the notes. Jot down the question and then jot down what it is. And then put into an action plan, how are you going to overcome that? How are you going to fight off those short-term pleasures? Those enjoyable short-term pleasures. How are you going to fight them off? Because remember, they're not bad. So we can't just rely on willpower to feel like, oh man, I need to make sure I don't do this. No, they're good things. So you're going to have to add systems into your life, add boundaries, add resistors. And there's plenty of ways to do that. I won't get into those on this episode. In fact, I'd rather hear from you. What are some of the boundaries, techniques, strategies you're using to avoid those enjoyable short-term pleasures that are only looking to rob you from accomplishing the highly valuable goal and gold from your life? That's it. That's all I want you to think about this week. Because here's what's about to happen. There's going to be kind of a crossroad. Now that you've kind of brought this question to your awareness, your frontal lobe, now that you've brought it up to your awareness, there's this intersection that's going to happen. And one of two things you're going to end up doing. Either you're going to identify what that enjoyable short-term pleasure is and really take it serious and start to limit that slowly, progressively. Don't go cold turkey. If it's like smoking a cigarette, then don't think you're going to wake up tomorrow and just be free from smoking. No, what's the first step? The first step to limiting that enjoyable short-term pleasure. So either you're going to do that, or now that I've brought this to your attention, you can ignore it, but it's going to torment you. And that's the part that I'm actually smiling about. Not because I'm devious and and whatever, but because I want it to do just that. I want every time you choose the enjoyable short-term pleasure more than you choose the high value and gold that's inside of you, I want every time you choose the wrong thing, I want you to hear my voice. I want the echo in your mind until you put it down, until you turn away from it, until you stop dishonoring the goal that your life was meant for and you go after it. That is my hope. That one of those two things happen from this day forward. When you think about how to stop wandering around in that maze of detours and dead ends and get moving towards your destiny. I'm pumped. Man, it's going to be, listen, this year we're going to finish it out strong. And if you ride with this crew, we are going to finish this year out strong with purpose. And then we're going to turn around and do it again next year, but I don't want to overwhelm you, okay? So let's just focus on getting through this year, all right? Because if we're one of the few people that's blessed to see next year, we'll handle that then. But for right now, let's focus on what we got. And remember, this is a random reminder. Everything you have is everything you need. We've talked about that in another episode. So don't feel like you are lesser than. No, you are You have more than enough. You have everything you need. All right. So I'm going to get on out of here on this wonderful hump day. I love y'all. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Let's share this thing, man. We got a good thing going here. So if you know some friends and family who can benefit from hearing this or hearing some of these things we're talking about on a week-to-week basis, share it. That is the only thing I ask from you. I'm not asking you for no money. I'm not asking you for anything but to share this, because the more people we can get transforming their mentality, the better our communities are, the better our families are, and the better we are at reaching the success that our life was meant to reach. And so with that, I will get on out of here. Again, have a wonderful rest of your week. And as always, I'll see you back here, same time, same place, reminding you that success is your destiny.